Hi, today on From the Painter's Palette, we'll transform this sketch into a lovely watercolor of the Swiss Alps. So stay tuned and I'll show you how. I'm an artist and I've been teaching for over 50 years, teaching children and teaching adults. And I really enjoy the teaching. I paint everything that I see. If you're wondering where I get my inspiration, we travel. We travel all over the world. Also, I come from New York, and New York is an interesting place to paint. It's very colorful. Buildings, the traffic, the cabs, the people. And now, get your palette, get your brushes, and let's get started. First of all, I get a piece of watercolor paper, which is this watercolor paper. Then I go ahead, I get a board, and I mount the paper after wetting it and shrinking it. I mount the paper with some thumbnail sketches here, and I mount it on a board. All right, this is my palette, and these are my brushes, and let me begin. Where should I begin? Okay, I decided that I would begin with these buildings. And so I'm going to go ahead and the building, the top of the building, the rooftops are sort of an orangey red. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna put a little bit of orange and red, mix it together. Here's one rooftop and another rooftop. Some of these I'll change later on, but I gotta get something down here. And let's see, here's another building here. And here's another. This one's really bright, but I could always wash. Maybe I should wash off a little bit. I have an assortment of brushes here. And I think I can start anywhere on this painting, and perhaps I will start on the sky. So I'll show you the brush I use for the sky. This brush here has a flat edge. It's about an inch and a half. It has a little bevel here, and here is how I'm going to begin. I'm going to wet the sky area. Turns out that my water happens to be a little bit colorful. Actually a little dirty, but I can see where the sky is. Whoops. I'm putting the sky in across this whole area. This is a little difficult to do because I'm working vertically, and if I work really wet, the paint runs down, and I have to be careful. Otherwise, it'll run right across everything on the page. Okay, now, I can use, let's see, how about a little bit of cerulean blue. Let's try it. And maybe a little cobalt blue. Let's see. This is called, I'm mixing the two colors together. And what I keep doing this here is I'm lifting off all the drips, because I don't want those drips there. I don't care if the sky is uneven in color. because really the skies are not really that even. I'm going to lift this off very softly. I could come right down actually over the mountains. There are several mountain ranges here. There's one here, and then there's one really big mountain range here. I may even go over these later on. Let me go ahead and do the big mountain range. Not all the colors here. I have a photograph here, and on this photograph, which I took, I still remember the day that I sat and actually painted the mountain range. Anyhow, this mountain range has all different colors in it. So let's see what I'm going to do here. It has a green in it, but it's unusual green. And actually, I might mix it. Yeah, let's see what this looks like here. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of that orange. This is going to be an underpainting, so that I have a little piece. Here's some more drips. It's an underpainting, and I'm going to go back over. I could actually paint right over the areas that I have trees, because the trees are going to get darker. So what I'm doing, and the color here, one of my favorite greens, and I'm mixing with orange. The color is Hooker's green. I don't want, let's see. Yeah, I want to get it a little lighter, so I added a little water to it. And this, as I said to you, this is just an underpainting. Now, okay, now I have the mountain range back here in the distance. And so let's see what color I'm going to make that one. It's not going to be the same as this. I'm going to make it a gray blue. And what color will I mix here? I will mix a little bit of ultramarine blue, and let's see, a little bit of burnt sienna. Let's see what colors I have here. As I say, I might end up giving this only more than one coat. So again, there's a bunch of trees here. They can go over. The trees can go over the mountain, and I'm going to leave that alone. Okay. Now, this whole area here is grass, and it's another shade of green. So this one is Hooker's green. And I'm mixing it with yellow. Let's see what that looks like here. Okay. Ooh, that's pretty bright. I'm going to leave this here. it will change a little bit as I paint. I've been using this big brush because it covers a lot of territory instead of the little pointy brushes. Okay, here's a drip. Okay, here's one drip. Now, let's touch this here. This is pretty dry. Okay, now I'm going to do this mountain range, and I'm going to leave these greens here, and I'm going to put in something else, another green. Actually, I better stop and put in some of the greens on some of the trees. So let's go ahead. And the trees have, okay, the tree has, and what I'm doing here, wow, this is pretty bright too. I'm using the edge here. I'm going to make all these trees. This is the underpainting for the trees. And you know what? I think I'm not only going to make it yellow green, I'm going to make it a little bit of I'm using the side of my brush, this edge. I'm using cerulean blue, not only yellow and green. Okay, so, all right, I think I better wait till this dries here before I do anything else. So, I have a great big tree here that's very dark. And let's see how I can get my dark green here. All right, I'm going to use the same hook as green. A little bit of cerulean blue. And a little bit of burnt sienna. And I'm going to get this tree. Oh, this is pretty dark. Oh, I caught it before. This would have been a catastrophe if that dark green would have dripped down. I caught it before it dripped. And while I have this in my hand, why don't I go ahead and put in some trees over here? Let's see. Trees. Again, I'm painting all on the side of this brush. Sometimes I use one brush almost exclusively. I'm still painting these trees here. These are evergreen trees. I wondered what to paint, and I thought, well, this is sort of a nice scene. And sure enough, I did. This is very bright, so let's go back over this one. Put a little thing down here. And now I think I'll paint the bottom part of those buildings. So I'm going to change my brush, and I have a choice. The choice is, this is a very nice pointy brush here. I might use that, or here's a smaller one. Let me try this one. This is very nice. And what color am I using here? I'm going to use my ultramarine blue and some burnt sienna. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the bottom part of these buildings. I'm going to change the color a little tiny bit just to make it a little different. I put a little bit more brown in this one. This is a very nice brush. It says on here, well, it's synthetic, but it says sable, so it is a good brush. Okay, and there's only one more place here. Okay, now let's do this big mountain. This is going to be tricky. Okay, which brush should I use here? I'm going to use this brush. Although it's not my favorite brush, this one is not coming to a great point, but it'll work anyhow. All right, so now I'm going to get some color on this mountain, but I have to be careful to go around. You know, I better use one of these brushes to go around some of these trees over here so I don't ruin them. Okay, again, I'm going to use ultramarine. I'm going to go around these trees. My ultramarine blue this time, I mixed it, I think, with a little crimson by accident. So I got a shade of purple, which is pretty nice. Sometimes you accidentally get something, and that's even nicer than the original idea. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and make it darker green here. Oh, this is pretty dark. And the mountains are not completely flat. They have some shading in them. I have to go around here too. Yeah, here's some, gotta go back around these purple, which was a little light, so let's go around here. Yeah, the mountain range has some shading in it. Go back between the trees again. Switzerland. The green just is so nice and refreshing. Oh, these are really crooked. Let's straighten these out. Yeah, that's better. I go ahead and I hold my hands this way and I say, oh, let me look for a nice scene. And before I know it, I have found a rock to sit on, and I start painting some of the things that I are holding my hands around. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's take, oh, that happened by accident, but you know, but I'm going to leave it. Sometimes I leave the accidents because they look so nice. And it's really turning pinkish looking, but it might be better than having this all green. Actually, if I want to lift off some color, what I did to show you how to lift off color is I pressed down on my brush like this. Well, that's not wet, so it didn't lift off. Watch this here. That lifted off a little bit of color here. Okay, let's try this brush again over here. And I'm going back to my green. Okay. Now I told you we'd have some really big trees over here. So let me take this little photograph off now. Let's put it down at the bottom here. And let's go back here and put some really big trees here, the dark ones. I could try another green. Well, there's one green I have here. The only thing is I mix it with a little orange. One green is phthalo green, which is very, very bright. Okay, let's go ahead and just mix these colors here. And this is, I have to remember all these different greens. This is a hooker's green. I'll go back over this, but let's just put it in temporarily. I'm going back. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and these are dark greens too. So let's go and get the dark green again. Again, it's the Hooker's green. There's a big variety of greens that you can use. You just have to try them and see which ones you like. Now, yeah, that worked out, okay? And here's some greens. Here, a little bit here. Okay, so let's go ahead and I want to put some rocks here to show you how to do the rocks. I'm going to paint an undercolor for rocks. And what color I'm going to use is a little bit of I'm using a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of orange, and I'm just going to paint, well, got some unusual color here. By the way, I keep wiping off my brush here. I don't want it to be too much of a mixture. Let's hope this works. I really wanted to show you how this rock was made. Sounds like I make rocks. That's pretty good. I don't know how many other people make rocks. Now, I'm going to try something different over here too. I don't know if it'll be okay, but let's see. I want to show you something else. So, what I wanted to show you is I'm taking a little piece of sponge. Yeah, this is a really old, rough piece of sponge. And I'm going to put a little bush in this area, which I put on with the sponge. This time I'm wetting the sponge. And I'm trying to think of what color. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Squeeze out the color, and let's use a little blue here. That's more than a little blue. That's a lot of blue. Maybe too much blue. So let's go back to my green. Sometimes I do an entire painting with a sponge. It goes very fast. And I could do something else too. I dip my sponge into the water. This time, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to paint the sponge. Let's see what happens here. Not much. Not too much happened. Let's bring some of this out here. These sponges are better than the kitchen sponge because they have holes in different places. And then you could squeeze it and you can hold it up really tight to the edge, see? And when I do, well, no, this is not dry yet. I'm not going to do it here yet. And actually, I wanted to do some sponge work over here too. So getting a little cautious here so I don't goof it up here. Okay. Well, I'm getting pretty colorful. I'm going to make these trees darker too after I get this bush in. I can't wait to do this. I just hope it works. And the reason I say that is most of the time when I do these rocks, I do them flat on a table. And this time I'm doing it vertically. So in the meantime, I'm going to bring some of this yellow-green down in here. I wish I could remember to tell you the name of these greens and yellows, because this one is New Gamboge, I know that. Oops, that's pretty bright. Maybe too bright. Put a little bit more green on here. Here's some drips. Oh, green, something by accident. Oh, let's do this rock first. Okay, I'm going to take my burnt sienna and okay, here we go. I'm going to try it in a little corner first and see what happens. I'm sure you don't know what's happening. Let's see. Put this down real fast. And, oh. I tried that razor blade, but what's happening is the razor blade is catching on my staple. And I'll probably cut this painting off over here if I decide to frame it. Cut it off probably here. I'm still using burnt sienna mixed with on top of the dark the light color that I put on first. It works, but not as much as I would like it to work. Here's your razor blade over here, and let's see if it works with the other razor blade. Here is the other razor blade right over here, and I like this one. It has a little handle. Yeah. Okay, when it came to doing this, let's put some branches on that little bush over there. I love this brush. The point is very nice. This one says sable, but it also says synthetic, so I don't think it's a real sable. So let's get this darker here a little bit. That bush, and actually I'm going to put some more on this bush here. Meanwhile, let me do some of these dark trees. Now I'm going back. I'm really using a lot of brushes here. Let's see. There's one brush I haven't used here that I want to show you before I use this other. This is unusual. This is a little fan brush, and let's put it in some branches. Yeah, this one gives you some nice shapes of some leaves. And I'm using it on the side. I could use it this way, like the fan, or I could use it on the side, and I get some nice shapes. Very nice. In fact, you could do a whole painting of a tropical painting, and with all these, and you know, it seems to me that I keep sticking to this color. This hook is green. And you know, I'm doing it again now, but this time I'm holding the brush very lightly, so it only hits just a little bit of the plant. Wonder if I should do a little, I feel like doing a little, some more leaves here. Okay, so let's get some very dark trees in here now, which is what I started to do in the first place, but I wanted to show you this fan brush. Okay, so we're going back, this brush again. I'm going back and I dipped it in the same things. And I'm going to go ahead and I just rotate this brush while I'm doing things here. I just go ahead. And what I'm doing is, instead of just coming down with the brush, sometimes I rotate it and move it around, and so I get some different shapes here. Actually, boy, it's so dark it even goes over that, which is very nice, because I want these to fade in the background. They really do fade in the background because there's a little red in there. And instead of all dark green like I'm putting on, I go ahead and leave it light like that so it looks like it's in the distance. I want to do some more rocks, but I'm sort of afraid. But I will try it, and if it doesn't work out, well, it just doesn't work out. It's an experiment. Everything that I do, I'm not really sure what's going to happen all the time. And it's getting pretty colorful here. Yep. Actually, I think I'll get a little bit more color in here. What brush should I use? Okay, I'll use the same brush. And I'm using a brighter yellow. Okay. Wow, that's pretty bright, isn't it? I say that every time I use this yellow, and then I go back and use it again. But it's a pretty color. Well, if I'm going to get this to be a colorful painting, I certainly have. Okay. Oh, I want to show you something else. Let's see. Let's try, which is my good pointy. This is a pointy brush here. Let's go ahead and make some little crevices in this. I'm holding this brush very lightly. While I have that blue, that's my cerulean blue. Let's go back here and make some of this a little darker. still using this nice pointy brush and getting some. Okay, so, all right, we have left over this bad area. Here we go again. Okay. Now, as I told you, if I wanted to really look like rocks, I start in with a color underneath and then put a dark color on top and then scrape it off. And as I say, scraping it off with the paper going this way doesn't always work. So I'm going to try it again. If it doesn't work, I will let it go and take it back to my studio and paint it flat. So let's go ahead and paint it. Let's see, we're going to use the ultramarine blue. And the burnt sienna. And got a very dark color. I'm going to just do a little tiny bit. Just a little bit here. Yeah, it works all right. The only problem is I hit my staples. So let's try it at the top here. Okay, not the greatest thing, but anyhow, so maybe if I put some more bushes in between these two spots here, it won't look so terrible. Okay, let's go ahead and use, I'm going to use this brush here. Take the yellow, green, I want to show you something else too. Sometimes I'm showing you these things, and they don't always help the painting, but I did want to show you how to work the bevel here. So let's go ahead. This is the bevel. This is a lot of fun to do. And you do this on very wet paper. Thick paint. And you scrape it off. I'm just wondering if my Swiss Alps is beginning to look tropical. I hope not. when I use this to scrape it off, I hold my brush this way. I hold my hand on the beveled edge over here, and then I press down and I scrape off paint. Okay, so let's get some of these bushes. This is getting a little sloppy over here too. Let's get this a little better. Okay. Yeah, better. I'm getting to the point on this painting where I might stop pretty soon and take it back to my studio and study it and see where I want to put some more thing. I am definitely not going to do this rock here because I think it's going to get ruined. Although, let me show you something. I did put a little outlines here of some of the rocks. Okay. Bring out the corner of that roof by putting some color behind it, like that. And I think I'll get some dark shadow. Maybe maybe some windows. Okay, what do I do next? Okay, now the last thing that I'm going to do on this until I get it back into my studio is something else that I want to show you. And that is my toothbrush. And what I'm going to do is splatter some of these things. So how am I going to do that? Okay. So what I'm going to do is to I'm going to paint the brush. I can paint it different ways here. Let's see what happens. Yeah, this is not enough, actually. So when I splatter, I'm going to dip this into the water. I'm going to wipe it off a little bit, put some color on. Now let's put it. Yeah. This works pretty nice here. And what I did was hold the brush like this, and then I ran my hand along the bristles. And let's get here some dark color here. Okay, so at this point, I think, I see some strange little lines. I think I will stop painting. Take it back to my studio, study it, and then decide what else to do with it. So I hope that you have learned about the brushes. Well, first of all, here's the paper. Here's one brush, square edge. Here's another brush, pointy, tiny brush. Your razor blades. And I think at that point, that probably is all. If you would like to see some of my paintings, look at my webpage, judyswatercolors.com, and you will see an assortment of styles and other than Switzerland. So thanks for coming, and go to the store, pick up your art supplies, and start painting. Thanks for coming. Goodbye.